This video gives an overview of routine phytoplankton sampling as done by the Harmful Algae Monitoring Program in NANAIMO, BC, Canada. The first thing to do when you come to your sampling site is to make a note of the weather and environmental conditions. Air temperature, that's always a good thing to notice. Sea state, is it calm, rippled water, choppy, etc., and current, the direction and strength. Cloud cover, which can be noted in percentage or tenths, and precipitation, if any. No rain today. And then the wind strength and direction. Remember that current direction is where it's going to, and wind direction is where it's coming from. And then make any kind of comments about heavy rain or strong wind overnight, hot weather, etc. So now we'll run through taking a discrete or bottle sample. First, label your bottles. This is easier before than after. Writing on wet labels is no fun. Write down the site where you're taking the sample from, the date, and the depth. More info than less is better. What seems obvious to you now may not later. There you go, 3 nice labeled bottles ready for the samples. Now a word about different plankton samplers. There's various different designs of plankton sampling bottles. They all differ in cost, efficiency, and ease of use. We use a homemade sampling bottle. It's cheap to make and easy to use. It's deployed closed, corked, and then at the sampling depth, a tug on the rope pulls the cork out of the bottle and the sample fills up. Other popular discrete sampling bottles are the Niskin type bottles, which are lowered open, either horizontally, like the Lamotte sampler, or vertically, like the Niskin. These are deployed open with the tube caps pulled out and attached to a charging pin, and then are closed at the sampling depth with a messenger. It's a weight, that weight that slides down the rope and springs the trap, so to speak. Then the sample can be brought up, completely enclosed, back up to the surface. Now we'll run through the procedure of taking a discrete sample with our homemade sampling bottle. You cork it, find the measurement for your sampling depth, and lower it to sampling depth. Wait for a few seconds so the water can settle down, and give it a tug. The cork pops out and water pours in. Wait as the bottle fills, and then bring it back up. Rinse sample bottle. Your sample bottle should be clean, but giving it a rinse is always a good idea. And then fill it right up, leaving just enough room for the lugolls. Add the lugolls. 8 to 15 drops is usually about right for one of these 120 ml sample bottles. But it does depend on the strength of your lugolls. That can vary, and also how much plankton there is in the sample. If there's more plankton, it takes more lugolls to stain it. Mix it gently by inverting it, check the color, and then you can empty your bottle and move on to the next sampling depth. So repeat the same steps for the other sampling depths. Find the mark for your sample depth. There's the knots for 5 meters. Cork the bottle firmly and lower it into the water. There you go, there's your knots again, right at the surface for 5 meters. Wait a few seconds and then give it a tug. Cork pops out. Wait a few seconds for it to fill. You can also wait till the bubbles come to the surface from the air that was in the bottle when it was corked. Here they are. And then bring the sample back up. Rinse the sample bottle. Check and make sure that's the 5 meter one. And then fill it up. Eight to 15 drops of Lugol's. Invert gently to mix. Check the color. And then you can move on to the next. There we have our 1, 5, and 10 meter samples. Those are the HAMP sampling depths. Nicely preserved, beautiful color. Next, environmental monitoring, monitoring of water parameters. When taking plankton samples, it's a good idea to collect environmental data on water temperature, salinity, and dissolved oxygen at the same sampling depths. This can be done using the sample in the sample bottle or actually measuring right in the water column if you have a multimeter with a long cord. Some multimeters measure salinity, others don't. If you don't have a salinity measuring one, this what JEANINE has there is a refractometer which measures salinity. You just take a little bit of your sample, the pipette, put it on the surface, cover with the little lid, look into the light, and you'll see the measurement of the salinity in the viewfinder. Note that down, and then clean off the refractometer with fresh water and dry it off with a Kim wipe before putting it away. That way it doesn't rust or corrode. So the multimeter probe, if you've got a bottle with a wide enough opening, the multimeter probe will flip right in and measure temperature and DO in the bottle. DO measurement usually takes a little bit longer to equilibrate. But when the measurement's stable, then you can mark that down. Now some multimeters automatically allow for the salinity in the water, and others you have to set the salinity manually. This little one is very good, but you do have to manually set the salinity before measuring. But you can see it has a nice long cord, so you can measure right in the water column. You set the salinity and measuring at 1 meter. Wait for the DO measurement to stabilize. Mark that down. And then the temperature. and mark it down, and then you can lower it to the next sampling depth, the 5 meter and then the 10 meter. Last measurement we'll do is a Secchi depth, a measurement of visibility or turbidity in the water. This is actually a freshwater Secchi disc with the different quadrants of black and white. In marine systems, more usually the Secchi disc is all white, a foot across, 30 centimeters. And it's a very simple thing to use. You just lower it down till you can't see it anymore in the water, and then bring it back up until it's visible. Maybe take a few tries of lowering, bringing up before you see exactly when it becomes visible. And then you note what depth that is before bringing it back up. And you note your Secchi depth, and your sampling is done.